Hello and welcome to the Jack and Joe show. Joe Sansom alongside me. And we lost at the weekend, but again, a good performance. I think hardest game of the season we've faced so far, toughest opposition. And talk to me about the game.
Yeah, I think you're completely right. Definitely hardest game of the season so far. Maybe not on paper because we thought that Liverpool and also equally Arsenal would be super tough. But I think for large portions of it, Spurs battered us, to be honest. And, it wasn't necessarily through any fault of our own. It was just individual quality shining through. But as a team, they were very cohesive going forward. They made life very difficult for us. And in the end, I'm glad that we came away with a respectable scoreline. We managed to stay in the game until the very last kick. And on another day, we could have maybe snuck a maybe slightly undeserved draw. But we're going to have games like this. And I think the important thing is, even when we weren't completely at it and the opposition were, and very good opposition at that, we weren't completely overwhelmed. We weren't completely outplayed. And the scoreline still looks very respectable.
Albeit they scored, 2 goals that were disallowed. They're disallowed because the rules state that they shouldn't count. Joe, happy birthday for the other day as well. Did you have a good day?
Oh, I had a fantastic day. Yeah, fantastic day. And thank you for the shout out on Quick Take alongside Lewin Kurzawa. Who's the best guy with the 4th of September birthday, though? You tell me. I'm not so sure. I guess we might find out at the weekend because
good
one
segue.
thing, because we have an injury and we've had such bad luck with injuries so far, but it felt like they were all for wingers, and we've sort of forgotten that these injuries can happen to the rest of the team. Obviously, on our deadline day live stream, we spoke about bringing in Kurzawa on deadline day on loan, PSG left back, but he hasn't played a great deal of football over the past few years. That concerns me slightly, as did Mbabu's attempts at left back. Not necessarily his fault, not his position, just an unfortunate position for us all to be in where that was the only option. It's a tough one. It puts us in a difficult position where you think that Robinson's not going to be back in time for Chelsea, hopefully back in time for Forest, but if not after the international break, because it didn't look horrendously serious. But, on that left-hand side going up against Raheem Sterling and Reece James, as we'll come on to talk about later, even though Chelsea do look in a little bit of disarray, they're very good players. And it's interesting to see if he comes in, because until that injury, Jack, on Saturday, I thought that we were quite solid and quite content. And I felt like that ruined the balance of the team. Having a right-footed player at left back, it meant that when we were pressed, we had less options because he had to come inside. That's almost the manner that caused us to concede the first goal, with him sort of dilly-dallying on the ball a bit and not knowing what to do. Yeah. It felt like we lost the balance, and then we lost the confidence, and then we lost the ball, we lost the goal, and we lost the game. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, no, that's quite a tangent to go off. It's true, though. What concerned me about Robinson's injury was that he tried to play on and then subsequently had to go back down and was substituted for Mbabu, who obviously not his natural position, like you say, and he was very stiff. He was very poor. It felt like he was a rabbit in headlights for the whole appearance he made. I have to say, Harry Kane's performance was one of the best individual performances I've ever seen from any player, ever. And I didn't sort of realise it at the time, but I watched the game back and there was a couple of compilations that went up on Twitter as well. He had an absolutely phenomenal game.
It was that ball, wasn't it? The ball from him to Son in the first half when Son hit the bar. That was it was world class. And it's stuff like that even if you're on it, if someone plays a ball like that on another day, that's 1-0 at the time. It was 0-0. There's not much you can do to defend that.
We were incredibly stable at the back. There was a couple of last-ditch challenges we made inside the box to deny, I think it was Harry Kane and Son and Spurs players. And it's so frustrating because, they always say, if you lose the ball high up the pitch, you're going to get punished in the Premier League. And I know it's true. We've seen it before. We've seen it years gone by. And it was the first time this season where we really saw that for us on the bad side. Obviously, you saw Gabriel give it to Mitrovic, and Mitrovic scored against Arsenal. But this was really frustrating because Mbabu had many chances to clear that ball long or at least play a pass or go somewhere, even knock out for a throw because he's under pressure. But no, and he lost the ball, and Tottenham didn't score straight away, but they passed it around and they found the space with Højbjerg and he put it in. Good finish, but very disappointing, very frustrating because, like you say, we were really in the game at that point. And the Robertson change was a huge game changer for us in a negative way. I thought Kenny Tete on the other side was actually really, really good.
Yeah.
And again, Tim Ream had a very solid game. Tosin, he won a foot race with Son, didn't he, at one point in the first half? That was quite fun to see. And another concern was João Palhinha picking up another yellow card. He needs to stop because he's brilliant at making these tackles. There was a stat that came out today from the Premier League saying he's won the most tackles, or he's made the most tackles in the Premier League this season. But his former side, Sporting Lisbon, are winning 3-0 at Frankfurt at the moment. But he just needs to stop getting yellow cards because he's going to get suspended for a game.
Yeah, he does. And some of the yellows he's got this season have been very, very harsh, by the way. The one at Arsenal, I seem to remember, I don't think he even did anything wrong, but obviously you can't appeal yellow cards.
He went face to face with Jesus,
it's I don't know. But anyway, I mean, the point you make is very true because, he's going to get suspended now. There's no doubt about that. It's too long until the reset for the 5 yellow threshold. This is why I think we need another midfielder because, Palhinha to Chalobah, whilst a like-for-like swap is a huge drop down in quality, I don't think that we'd even go with that. I think we might have to start Kearney, put Pereira deeper perhaps, or vice versa. I'm not too sure what we do. Bobby Reid maybe could do a job for one game, but it is a worry. I'm just very relieved he's not missing the Chelsea game because obviously for local bragging rights, that's a very important match. We all want to win it. And I really want him in that midfield. And to be honest, if we were to beat Chelsea and he was to play a part, but he got a yellow, I'd of course take it. And he missed the Forest game. But that being said, obviously don't want that to happen. He'd be a huge miss in any game this season. And there's no easy game. We need him all the time. So it is disappointing. A few other things I guess we should talk about was Leno was phenomenal, had an amazing game. His best game so far, and he had a great game against Arsenal as well, it should be said, but saved some dead certs, I would say. And, there was all the debate from us included saying, should we drop Rodak? He hasn't really done anything wrong. I think the thing with bringing in a superior goalkeeper is it's not necessarily that the other goalkeeper, in this case, Rodak, would make a mistake. It's just quite simply that the new goalkeeper will save things they're not expected to. And Rodak, he didn't do anything unexpected in those 2 games. He did nothing wrong. I'm not bashing him one bit. I thought he was quite impressive, in fact. But he didn't do anything where I thought, wow, I can't believe he saved that. He saved the ones he should save. He let in the ones I thought he'd let in. Meanwhile, Leno on the weekend saved a few which I thought were destined to go in, even on replays.
Like Arsenal away as well.
Like Arsenal away, yeah. I mean, there was a few there for sure. And I guess the only other thing we should talk about, Jack, and maybe you should lead on this one, is the new signings. We made a triple sub, which was, I think, Kearney, Willian, Dan James. Vinicius also came on late in the game. Maybe for Vinicius, we can't really comment because he only had 5 minutes. He didn't really do anything in that time. Didn't have a chance. But any early impressions on Dan James or Willian in that half an hour?
I'd argue that Dan James didn't get to really impact the game in the way in which he would have wanted to, playing on the break. And, ironically, our goal came on the break. It just happened to be Kenny Tete played that long ball over to Mitrovic, who, by the way, we should talk about very briefly. 6 goals in 6, and what a goal. I'm trying to think, Joe, out of all the 102 goals that Mitrovic just scored now for Fulham, has there ever been a goal where he's just taken it down and bent it top bins?
No, I don't think there has. And I was thinking about this on Saturday. I was thinking, when has he even curled one top bins or anything like that?
Yeah.
And I remember a penalty against Cardiff when he smashed it top bins in lockdown.
Yeah.
And I remember the hat-trick goal against Bristol City at home last year when he went on his left foot just before half-time and curled it the other way. But I've never seen him take down a ball like that and then cut inside against Romero, who's a very good defender, by the way. Very good.
Really good.
And curl it in the top corner past French international Hugo Lloris. I was right behind it when it was coming towards me, and I almost couldn't believe it. I was like, there's only one place he can put that ball for it to even trouble the goalie, and he put it there and then some. And it was one of my favourite goals from the season so far, easily.
Yeah, I gave that a little squeal
from where I
was in the press box.
Yeah, I was trying to keep hush-hush. Yeah.
No, but even then, the deflected shot that nearly went in that had to be clawed away by Lloris. I mean, we you can't really say, we nearly got a draw because, Spurs scored another goal. It was VAR. It was chalked off. But we gave it a go, and that's what you like to see. But sorry, going back to your original question about Dan James, there was that one chance he got, and I mentioned it the other day with George Cooper, that there was a ball played on towards him and he was going to run onto it, and there was a chance, but it was intercepted by, I can't remember who it was in the end who intercepted it from Spurs. So we never really got to see the fruits of what we can see from Dan James, as opposed to Willian, where he got a little bit of the ball. But I felt that, again, I was getting frustrated with the link up he was doing with Mbabu. They just weren't getting the ball in the box quick enough for me. There's a lot of dilly-dallying about, and then again, he had that free kick opportunity where he could whip it into the box, and it sailed out for a goal kick. So, again, very small sample size of what we've seen from all three of the new signings that played on Saturday. Do we, and I'm sure we'll talk about this when we go to the Chelsea chat, I'm sure now, do we see more of those faces on Saturday afternoon in the lunchtime kickoff against them not down the road?
Yeah, Walham Green. I think so. I feel like we will. Vinicius, I think, will definitely be on the bench, and he's a sort of person you bring on if we need a goal. So I'm almost hoping we don't see Vinicius this weekend, because that would probably mean that we're chasing it at the very end. Willian and Dan James, I think, will 100% play a part. I'm not sure if they'll start the game. Bobby Reid and Cabano, I don't think they troubled Tottenham too much, either of them, but they worked very hard and they didn't do anything particularly wrong. It was more that we just couldn't really impact the game from an attacking point of view. They were basically both locked up in Azkaban by Emerson Royale and Sessegnon on the other side. I really would like to see Dan James. And the reason I say that is because for anyone that watched the Zagreb game yesterday, Chelsea were being done for pace time and time again. And I think we've got to use it. And he's the quickest player in our squad. So, but then again, you could argue, do you bring in when they're tired? Do you have the sort of pressing approach, which I'm sure he could do because he did it for Leeds in their 3-0 win over Chelsea, which started in only a few weeks ago. But, Cabano and Bobby Reid have been working so hard in terms of how we've started games at home in particular, where we basically just outworked the opposition and forced them into mistakes. I feel like we'll most likely be unchanged other than the left-back position this weekend.
Yeah.
I think that is the only one where, we're assuming Robinson's out. We haven't had anything confirmed. I would presume that Kurzawa will start. If not fit, then it's going to have to be Mbabu, and I'm not particularly happy about that. No slant on Mbabu at all. It's just I don't want an inverted right back in the left back position, and not an attacking one at that. I want them to be solid against Chelsea and really just keep it solid at the back, and we can do the business in the front with the other players. And Mbabu's the sort of fullback that I want when we're chasing a game. And on the right-hand side, as we've seen in the cameo against Brentford, for example. What do you think, Jack? Do you agree? Do you think unchanged? Or would you want to start maybe Dan James or Willian? I presume Willian would be on the bench, but he might start.
That's really tricky, actually. And actually, hold on. I seem to remember putting in a lineup in the group chat the other day, which did not have Cabano in.
Yes.
So I'm going to have to stick to my guns. And I think what I did was I said Live Akazoa if comes in, if fit. If not, it'll have to be Mbabu. And if Robinson plays, Robinson plays. And then I said that Bobby Reid would switch to the left and we'd play Dan James on the right with Mitro down the middle with the same midfield. And I have to stick with that. I like Bobby. I think he's been one of my favourite players this season. His work rate is phenomenal. He seems to just have that extra zip to him this season that we didn't quite see, last season in the Championship. And I've been really impressed. So I'd like to keep him in the team. And he can play on that left-hand side as well. We've seen it before. And Dan James can come in on the right. Or maybe even Dan James could play on the left. I'm not really sure. But harsh on Cabano. I didn't feel like he did very much to impress me at Spurs, albeit we didn't have many chances down the flanks, especially in the first half. So that would be my thinking. But, I'm if it was unchanged, I'd be pretty happy with that, to be fair.
Yeah.
It's actually funny because when Robinson got subbed, I, for a moment, thought that Tim Ream was going to go into left back and Issa Diop was going to come on. But
me too. I thought Issa Diop was going to come on.
Yeah, but it didn't happen.
No.
And maybe should have happened, but I don't think Tim Ream at left back against... Who would it have been against?
Oh, God. It would have been against... it would have been Richarlison. First half, yeah. No, thank you,
He
ref.
was good, Richarlison.
He
Final
was.
word on Spurs.
Yeah.
Oh, so no, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say it would be nice if Richarlison could stay on his feet and keep his top on next time. But good player.
I won't have any of this Richarlison slander that we've seen already this season with the juggling. I just think he's a great shithouse player, and he scored and then it got disallowed. Doesn't really matter.
Look, football would be boring without players like him, wouldn't it? Let's face it.
Exactly.
So boring. So yeah.
Sorry. Final word on Spurs. Sessegnon. Celebration for the third goal, which obviously didn't count, was quite big. I suppose he got the assist, but I'm not going to be like, it's not like he left us 2 weeks ago. He's very, very settled at Spurs. He's in that Conte team, week in, week out now. He's obviously going to care. It doesn't matter who he plays. This whole thing about Sess is a disgrace. No, he came over and clapped the fans at the end. He's a class player. And actually, if you watch the full access video, there's a really nice little hug with TC in the tunnel before the game. That was really nice to see, given their link up at the playoff final in 2018, Joe.
Yeah, definitely. And look, I've got no problem with Sessegnon. I like the way he came over and clapped us at the end. It was disappointing from a Fulham perspective that he had a great game. He had a really good game.
He got in the team of the week.
He got in the team of the week. He set up the second goal. And deserved in the team of the week. I thought he was their most dangerous forward player outside of Kane, in my opinion. I'd put him above Richarlison. I was most nervous when Sessegnon was on the ball, actually, on Saturday. And, the only thing I'd say on the celebration is, it's not nice to see, obviously, but you've got to remember, that was a big game for them. They were under a lot of pressure. He'd set up what he thought was the goal that killed the game. And I don't think he'd have done the celebration if he'd have scored it. And the last thing I'd say on it is if Carvalho does that at Anfield, though, if he sets up the winner, I will see you in the gates of hell, my friend, because I will be saying some unspeakable things on this. So let's move on.
Fabio Carvalho is not in the squad tonight for Liverpool. I have no idea why. They play Napoli in about 15 minutes
strange.
time. It is, however, Harvey Elliott versus Andre Frank, Zambo and Guisa, which I'm looking forward to watching. Hence, we should wrap up pretty soon. Thomas Tuchel was sacked this morning from Chelsea following the loss to Zagreb last night. A lot of people are like, I don't like this. When people are like, oh, that's us losing then. Well, no, it's not, because the game hasn't been played yet. This whole new manager bounce thing, I don't really, it's a thing, but it's also very much not a thing. I think this is the best time to play Chelsea, Tuchel or no Tuchel, on the back foot, lost the game on last night, coming to Craven Cottage for a 12:30. I think we can have them. I think we could, maybe get a draw, maybe get a win. I'd be disappointed if we lost. Obviously, it's a West London derby. But Joe, I'm not going to this game dreading it. I'm ready for it, fueled with confidence.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, Thomas Tuchel drew his first game as Chelsea manager 0-0 against Wolves, which was seen as a home banker. This is a far more difficult test for them. We mustn't forget the Chelsea team that played last night and looked in disarray is no different from the one that we're talking about today at all. The man in charge is different, yes, and yes, that will change things. But even at the time of recording, Wednesday evening, they appoint new manager, potentially Graham Potter. Tomorrow, let's say, he will have one full day before the Fulham game. And it's going to be a short day because they've got to, I know they're not exactly travelling for the game, but they've got to have the prep because it's an early kickoff. I don't imagine they're training until late in the day. There's not a lot of time for him to get his ideas across. And I feel as if it's a very short turnaround. Obviously, it's not ideal. I'd rather be playing them with Tuchel in charge, I must be honest, because they're on a streak of losing away games. And the only away game they've won, Everton, they were very unconvincing in that win. But I would say that, this sacking doesn't change everything. I think it makes it a tiny bit harder, but it doesn't mean that we're going to lose suddenly. It doesn't change anything that dramatically. All it means is the style they play might be slightly different because there's someone new in charge. The formation they play might be slightly new because there's someone new in charge. And different players might start. But Chelsea look poor, and this is our best chance to beat them, other than when we last beat them, in our lifetime, Jack.
Yeah, you're completely correct. And when they came to our place during lockdown, where we lost 1-0 for a Mason Mount goal under Lampard, they were struggling at that point as well, and we really thought we could get something from the game, albeit Park attacks, and we didn't score any goals at home that season.
Yeah,
you got post manager clarity after that, so you sort of you sort of realise where it all went wrong, really, for Fulham. Joe,
Post
we should wrap.
nutter clarity because Scott Parker's an absolute.
Let's do a score prediction before we finish today.
I'm going to stick with what I was going to say before Tuchel got sacked. I think we're going to do it, Jack. I think it's our day. I think we're going to beat them 2-1.
2-1.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with a very well battled 1-1 draw where we probably take the lead and they equalise quite late, and it's a little bit upsetting. But
by the way,
just
like
shows.
I know that everyone's sort of going hard on Chelsea at the moment. Point would still be a good result, very good.
Oh
result.
yeah.
Let's not forget that. But hopefully we can beat them.
This is the last top 6 team we play before the 2 in a row before the World Cup in Manchester United and Manchester City, in a different order. City first, then United. So a real chance to pick up points in the coming weeks. We'll talk about that soon. And Joe, it's been an absolute pleasure. Let's wrap this up before the Champions League starts.
Yeah, pleasure. Enjoy the day on Saturday, everyone. Wear white if you can, because that'll be fun. And let's make a great atmosphere. And whoever's in the dugout for Chelsea, be it, I don't know, John Terry, Scott Parker, Graham Potter, let's just make it a miserable day for whoever it is.
Yeah. Did you say Scott Parker?
Yeah, you never know.
It's funny because Graham Potter managed the last game at Craven Cottage under Brighton, and he might do the next one. You never know. And he had, enormous credit for Fulham after that win where we beat them the other day last week. So could we do it again? That would be interesting. Joe, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks a lot, Jack. Thanks everyone for watching, and enjoy Saturday.
Yeah, your guys' support for the live stream was fantastic. We really appreciate it. And we'll see you soon for another video on the Jack and Joe show. Take care, everyone. And come on, Fulham.